My garage is completely out of control. There are so many unfinished or not even started projects. A lot of this is because it's been so cold outside. Even with the heaters going, it's just not warm enough for me to be out here, but I have to get this tackled today. So taking you guys with me, I'm going to give you 8 tips that I recommend while I work on these 2 commission pieces that I'm doing for a customer. 1, you want to thoroughly clean your piece with a degreaser, and while you're cleaning it, you can start to assess your piece for repairs. In my situation, I ended up using Bondo to fill the hardware holes, but mainly because there were large gashes that I wanted to fill in, and this was better than using wood filler. 2, if you plan on painting, you need to scuff sand. I highly recommend this. This is the first step to achieving that flawless finish. For the yellow piece, I only used a 120 grit just because I didn't want it to be too smooth since it is already a slick surface, and I'll be addressing this separately. 3, is time to prep for paint. So I'm taping off the sides of my drawers since I will be leaving them in to paint, and I also noticed some nicks and dings that I had missed, so since they're minor, I'm just filling them in with wood filler. For this piece here, the customer is wanting it painted black, so I'm using a gray primer as opposed to a white primer because the gray will help improve the dark paint coverage. Personally, priming is just one of those things I still do regardless of what the paint says. And for this yellow piece, not only is it laminate, but it's extremely slick, so I'm using Dixie Belle Slick Stick, which is a great bonding primer. 4, you want to make sure you scuff sand between every coat. I do recommend a 220 grit or above. Also, after your first coat of primer, you may notice some missed repairs. Just address those as needed. I applied a second coat of primer to the big dresser, and then I had leftover bench-lac primer, which is another great bonding primer, so I applied that to the yellow dresser as well, just for a little extra adhesion. Okay, so 5 is painting, and as someone who spent their first year of the furniture flipping career hand painting, I get it. You may not be able to, or you're just not ready to commit to a spray painter, but let me tell you, it is a game changer. First of all, the time you're going to save, and then the finish that you'll get is so insane. They're not even that hard to use, and they're not even that expensive. There's a $50 option in my Amazon storefront, and it's a really good sprayer. But if you're not ready or just not able yet to get a paint sprayer, that's fine too. You can use a paintbrush. Just make sure you do go over your brush marks with a high density foam roller. That's the only way you're going to get a professional look. And while we're talking about professional looks, and since we're moving on to hardware, we're going to get into number 6, which is the hardware jig. Please invest in this $10 contraption so your hardware is straight and even. 7 is top coat. I am using General Finishes Flat Out Flat. Now again, this is one of those things where I'm going to do regardless. You'll have some paint companies that their selling feature is no top coat required, but for me personally, I'm always going to apply a top coat because I'm selling my pieces. I'm giving these to the customer, and I want to make sure there's that extra layer of durability for them. At this point, I'm pretty much done. I'm just putting on the finishing touches and installing back the doors where they belong. Commission pieces aren't always the most exciting thing to show y'all because most of the time the customers are just wanting one solid color thrown on there, and I get that's not fun to watch. But it is nice to show y'all that if you have a piece of furniture in your home that you're not excited about, you can change it to something that you like. Number 8 is a fan favorite. I provide the buyer with a paint sample and a label with all of the description information for the products that I use. This one is optional, but I have found it to be received very well by buyers. They love the fact that if there's scratches or they need to do touch-ups, they have the paint available, or if they ever want to work on their own project using this paint, they have the information available so they can go to the store and buy it.